What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to True Raider Podcast. I'm your host, True Raider. Now, we're getting into training camp. There's some signings, there's some cuts, there's some things that are moving and happening. And so I definitely wanted to get in with the nation, see what's going on, just check in. Salute to you guys. Um, Definitely want to just jump right in, man. I honestly don't have a ton of time tonight, but we're going to see what we can go ahead and hammer out. So, the first thing that I want to talk about, and that is Raiders signed safety Jamal Adams, reuniting him with Pete Carroll. And I think the big emphasis on this is reuniting him with Pete Carroll. That means Pete Carroll has already had this guy, already, knows him, and there's a reason why we're signing him, right? Especially so late in the game. But there's some interesting stuff. So the Raiders have signed safety Jamal Adams on Tuesday. It reunites him. It reunites the three-time Pro Bowler with Coach Pete Carroll, who coached Adams for 4 seasons with the Seahawks. Adams, 29, is entering his ninth season after the Jets made him the sixth overall pick in 2017. He recently posted a video on social media and said that he's in the best shape of his life. Adams has played only 15 games with 3 teams the last 3 seasons combined. He appeared in 3 games with the Titans and 2 with the Lions in 2024. In 85 career games, Adams has totaled 501 tackles, 21.5 sacks, and 4 interceptions. The Raiders also signed wide receiver Philip Dorsett, cornerback JT Woods, offensive guard Antonio Mafi, and wide receiver Seth Williams. They waived cornerback Melo Dotson, wide receiver uh, Zachary Franklin, wide receiver Keyshawn Smith, and linebacker Jalen Walker. So, real quick, man, I'm going to pull up the stats for Adams, man, because you know the way that they laid out what his stats looked like, it's like, okay, sounds good, right? But then when you really get into it, it's like, is this really what it is, right? So Jamal Adams, he's 29 years old. He's 6'1", 213 pounds. He was drafted number 6 overall to the Jets, and that always kind of spells disaster. But he had some good years, right? Especially in those early years in his career. Was really, he was a 3-time Pro Bowler in 2020. He only played 12 games, right? He only completed 2 seasons, really, and that's 2017 and 18. Then in 2019, he played 14 games. 2020, he played 12 games. But in that year, he had 9.5 sacks, 83 total tackles. Um, let's see, no interceptions. He's not really that coverage guy. He only has a couple picks here and there, right? But he's a good tackler and good sacker. Now, 2021 completely fell off, and this is under the Seahawks, right? That he had his best year, and then all of a sudden just fell off a cliff, right? He was still doing good in the tackle game, had no sacks, he had 2 interceptions. So, I mean, I honestly don't really know the details of what happened there, except that it kind of looks to me like they just started to utilize him differently. But in 2022, he only played in 1 game. He had an injury that has just plagued him ever since, right? The next year, he only played in 9 games and decent on the tackles, no sacks, no interceptions. And then he ended up going over to the Tennessee Titans and the Detroit Lions in 2024. He only totaled 5 games that whole year. So the stats overall, I mean, he's been in the league quite some time, 9 years, but it's been a while since he had any real production at all. And I'm not really going to hold that against him as much as just like really looking at the fact that Pete Carroll and John Spytek have done this thing with Alex Kappa and Devin White and Jamal Adams, and like we're just seeing this trend where we have these players that were good once upon a time, and then just kind of fell off, right? And are looking to have some kind of resurgence in their career. Now, in the presser today, Pete Carroll was talking about how, I'm sorry, yesterday, he was talking about how, the plan with Jamal Adams is really to use him at the line of scrimmage, right? And I like the sound of that, right? Because he's going to be more of a box safety than a free safety, which I like this because he's definitely not that great of a coverage safety. He's more of a hard hitter, and I think that utilizing him in special situations, and I don't know. I think that he'll get some reps with us. I think that since he's had injury concerns, he said he's like in the best shape that he's been in a long time, right? He's supposed to be healthy. I think that we're going to utilize him in a way that he's not going to be as prone to getting another injury and more able to just kind of perform well while he's on the field in whatever limitation that may be, right? Because I don't think that he's going to be taking a ton of snaps, right? I don't think that he's going to be our starting, strong safety or whatever. Like he's not going to play that role. But I do feel that they are going to have a use for him. And since Pete Carroll has already worked with him in the past, I think that Pete Carroll knows a lot about what he can bring to the table as far as helping this defense go in the direction that he'd like to see it go, but just more of just knowing that he's a guy that they can depend on in certain situations. So I'm pretty hopeful about what that might look like. But I gotta say, just from looking at his stats and stuff, I can't be super confident that he's going to be able to stay on the field because your best ability is your availability, right? And if he's not available, if he's just struggling with injury concerns, then I don't really, I understand why he was still available at this point in the offseason. And I really, really hope that we can find a way to utilize him. So let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, right? Let me pull it up real quick. Let me see. Okay, here we go. So the Raiders signed 5 and cut 4. So the Raiders have signed 5 players to the roster today per the NFL transaction wire. And this is safety Jamal Adams, wide receiver Philip Dorsett. Philip Dorsett, isn't this the guy that came from the Patriots a couple years ago? That was the speedster. I'm going to look it up real quick because I do believe that that's who we're talking about, man. Sorry about that. I got derailed, man. I got sidetracked. So he had been on the Patriots for some time. I thought he had come over to us, but maybe not, man. I don't know. Maybe not. Anyway, I'm going to get back to it. Let me pull it up real quick. All right, so we got Philip Dorsett, on guard Antonio Mafi, wide receiver Seth Williams, and defensive back JT Woods. Now, I'm going to tell you that I don't really have a whole lot of confidence in any of these guys really making the roster, except for maybe Jamal Adams. I think that Jamal Adams, it kind of seems to me like there may be some kind of plan on how they want to utilize him. And so I do think that he's going to end up making this roster. But Philip Dorsett, I doubt it. Antonio Mafi, I kind of feel like maybe they brought him in because we only had 2 players that did not participate in camp today. One of those was, of course, Christian Wilkins, who's coming back from the Jones fracture injury, and he is on the PUP list. And then we got Thayer Mumford, right? And Thayer Mumford, I do believe, I don't think that there's any news out about why exactly he's out, but I do believe that there's a good chance that they brought in Antonio Mafi just because they're not sure what's going to happen with Thayer Mumford, and they want to, just make sure that they're covered in, on our offensive line. So to free up space, the Raiders waived defensive back Mello Dotson, wide receiver Zakir Franklin, and wide receiver Keyshawn Smith, as well as linebacker Jalen Walker. Now, I got to tell you, I didn't really think that, like, I did a video a couple of days ago where I was talking about projected 53-man roster, and none of these players that got cut made the roster on that video, right? Mello Dotson is a guy that I know. He really had some good tape in college. He's a UDFA, several pick sixes, and just seemed to be a very good defensive back. However, I am hearing some stuff about maybe he's not so in love with football, and it could be more about his attitude towards the game of football rather than a skill issue on why he is not making the cut. But also, Pete Carroll said in his presser that he is very impressed with our defensive back room. And he said it looks like, and he was talking like as if, like the best defensive back room he's ever had. And mind you, he had the Legion of Boom, right? And so for him to be talking that way is a little suspicious to me. But what I really think is that it's more about measurables and what he believes it can be, because let's face it, we're just starting training camp. He can't really know what it is a whole lot. So I'm not overly concerned about that, right? Let's see. So Adams, talking about Jamal Adams, safety, 29, is a former first-round pick of the Jets out of LSU back in 2017. He played out the fourth year of his 4-year rookie contract. It was worth $202 million. The Jets exercised Adams' fifth-year option before ultimately trading him to the Seahawks for a package including 2 first-round picks. Seattle later signed him to a 4-year, $70 million contract extension. The Seahawks released Adams this past March, and he eventually signed on with the Titans. He signed with the Lions practice squad in December before being released. In 2024, Adams appeared in 5 games for the Lions and Titans and recorded 7 tackles. So just really not present that year at all, and it just goes back to, like, this guy was highly valued as a first round pick, 6 overall. He was traded, and it didn't say all the trade details, right? But he was traded and then signed a good contract with the Seahawks. And then it just seems like he got that injury and fell off. So I don't think that a lot of teams have faith in him right now because of that. But I think Pete Carroll knows his guy, probably, hopefully, did some research about, like, where he's at health-wise. And I think he decided it was worth taking that chance, right? Let's take a chance. Let's see, if he's healthy, he's going to definitely be a good signing. If he's not healthy, then it don't matter, right? Then it don't matter. Either way, we're not, mortgaging the farm to go and get him. It is what it is. Let me see. What's next? What's next on the docket? Okay. We're going to talk about some training camp stuff. So this is ESPN.com. It says 2025 Las Vegas Raiders training camp. Latest intel updates. So training camps have kicked off around the NFL, and our team reporters are on the ground each day following all the action. The Las Vegas Raiders camp is taking place in Henderson, Nevada, and Raiders reporter Ryan McFadden has the latest intel on standouts, highlights, position battles, depth chart moves, cut decisions, and, of course, the quarterback room. And I got to say, before I continue, I like that we're having training camp in Henderson, Nevada. A lot of people, really liked how we had it in Costa Mesa last year, and we're upset that we're not doing that again this year. And I get it, right? The majority of Raider fans are there in Southern California. But I think that it's important for us to be what is our home right now? Our home is Vegas, right? And so, if our home is in Vegas, why are we not just kind of building around what can be our new fan base in Vegas, right? Because if we're depending on our fan base only being out of SoCal, then we're going to continue to have that same thing where other other teams' colors are filling up our stadium, and I do not like that. Yes, we are a tourist town, and it's always going to be that to some degree, but I do believe that we can actually claim a home field advantage, especially if we start to win some games. All right. So, what follows is everything we are seeing and hearing at camp. We will update this file often with the latest updates. Who are the breakouts to watch, especially for fantasy football, and which players on the roster bubble could make the final 53. Let's get into it and be sure to keep checking back for more information until the first full week of the preseason begins on August 7th. So, latest news from Raiders camp Wednesday, July 23rd. In the eyes of Raiders quarterback Geno Smith, Coach Pete Carroll doesn't seem different after a year away from football. At 73, he is still an energetic coach whom Smith knew from their time together in Seattle. That's just the way he is. He's always trying to improve, Smith said. And for me, it's just great to see the energy that he continues to bring every single day. Our first team meetings, uh, our first team meeting was just jacked up. Carroll's expectations for winning have remained unchanged as well. On Tuesday, he made it clear that he is striving for at least 10 wins in his first season in Las Vegas. I've been winning 10 games a year for 20 years or something, Carroll said. What are my expectations? We're going to win a bunch, and I don't care who hears that. I wish I could guarantee it. Carroll has won at least 10 games in a season 9 times in his coaching career. Meanwhile, the Raiders haven't won 10 games since 2021. But his infectious spirit has players believing that they can turn things around. If you don't believe, then you're just wasting your time, defensive end Max Crosby said. We haven't won much uh, in this since I've been here. I expect perfection and excellence every day, but overall, I can't do it by myself. Gino can't do it by himself. Pete can't do it by himself. It's got to be all of us. So we got to be delusional enough to believe in what we can truly do. During the team period, the Raiders occasionally use 3 linebackers. Okay, before I go into that, I want to touch on this. So Pete Carroll's coming in this, and he has a ton of confidence, right? And he has so much confidence that he's boasting it up. Like, yes, that's what I do. I come in and I win, and he's used to winning at least 10 games. And I really, really think that that's a beautiful thing because we are coming from a spot where we really have not been winning for the better part of a couple of decades, right? And I think that those of us who have been Raiders fans for over 20 years, that it's kind of really due, right? It is due. Now we have Tom Brady as a partial owner, right? As a minority owner. We moved to Vegas. We got a brand new stadium. You know, we got Pete Carroll, we got John Spytek, we got Chip Kelly, who is one of the best offensive minds in the game. So don't get that twisted. Just he's coming off of winning a national championship in college, right? So this is really really actually a big deal that we have Chip Kelly. We got Geno Smith, who is the one of the most underrated quarterbacks, just because he started off his career in the dumps. Everybody who gets drafted to the Jets starts their career in the dumps, you know. And Geno Smith has one of the best deep ball, actually the best deep ball accuracy in the NFL right now. And who do we have? Dante Thornton Jr. and Trey Tucker, right? Along with Jacoby Myers, he's not very, very fast, but he can definitely run a deep route. And so can Jack Besh, right? Um, and then coming in with Ashton Genty is just, he's going to be a breakout running back rookie year. I have no doubts about it. Um, I think that there's a reason why Pete Carroll is so confident. I think that right now the Raiders are the most underrated team um, to have such a comeback breakout season. Alex with the follow salute, man. Let's see, hold up. I'm not keeping up with the chat over here. We got some Broncos fans and Chargers fans. Hey, as long as you guys keep it respectful, man, that's all I ask. Um, Whoops, something just happened. I think I accidentally sent the invitation, so that was an accident. Just to let you know. Um, Calhoun with the Raiders. What's good? What's good? Glad you made it. Calhoun, what's up, man? How you feeling? How am I feeling about the Raiders? Because the way I'm feeling about the Raiders, I'm ecstatic, man. You just jumped in, man, but I was just going on a big old hype train, man. I am on the hopium right now, man. I am all about this season. Let's see, jeez, man, Jaguar. Yeah, I don't think they are being underrated. Got to actually show improvement on game day, and we do, right? And really, what's happening is we're being underrated by what's on our roster, and then when you look at just the changing in staff, the changing in culture, the changing in everything, I got no doubt that we're going to be able to go and put it on the field. I really don't. You know, do I think that we're going to take over the division year one? No, I don't think that. Do I think that we're going to actually bring some competition into our division this year? Yeah, I definitely do. So let's go ahead and get back into this article. So it says during the team period, the Raiders occasionally used three linebackers. Landon Roberts and Devin White played Mike and Will linebackers, respectively, while Jermaine Pratt came off the edge. Carroll said last month that he looked forward to seeing all three linebackers share the field at the same time. Now, the linebacking room is a room that I had been extremely worried about, right? Uh, and I definitely smell what Pete's cooking over there, Calhoun. So the linebacking room was something to definitely worry about. You know, we lost Robert Spillane, who came over here was, you know, when he came over, I wasn't so excited because I didn't really know anything about him, and he came in and he showed out for Raider Nation, right? And then Divine Diablo, I thought he was a liability, but we lost our linebacking room essentially, right? We got left with basically rookies, and they really came in and they cleaned up this linebacking room, and I'm actually really excited to see what this looks like, right? Because Landon Roberts is a very solid linebacker, and when he first came over, they're talking about Green Dot, they're talking about, well, he's basically Robert Spillane but cheaper. And then Devin White is a guy that started off his career really, really great and just kind of fell off, right? And he's having an opportunity to have a resurgence, and I'm hoping that that's what happens. But we'll see if he gets utilized in the right capacity. I think that he could do quite well. But then Jermaine Pratt, right? When there was talks about like, oh, we should get Jermaine Pratt, right? And I saw so Posty with the follow salute. I saw so many people that were just like, no, like we're not going to end up getting him. There's no way. We're not going to make that good of a move. And then boom, Raiders signed Jermaine Pratt, right? So I'm excited to see what this looks like with all three of these guys. Not to mention, we do have Tommy Eichenberg, who really hadn't been utilized. He was a fifth round pick, I believe, man, and I really think that this dude was supposed to be able to develop into potentially getting into a starting role, right? And I don't know how that's going to shake out or what. But what I do know is that he's in a position where he has the time to develop instead of just getting thrown out there because we don't have anybody else. And then it says rookie wide receiver Dante Thornton Jr. Continued to get first team reps whenever the offense was in 11 personnel. Smith threw a deep ball to Thornton, but the pass attempt was incomplete. Wide receiver Alex Bachman. And Alex Bachman is a guy on the video that I did my 53-man projection. I didn't have him making the cut, right? It says he made an impressive two-handed catch near the sideline, showcasing his balance and footwork to stay in bounds. And then the first day of practice featured strong attendance. Defensive tackle Christian Wilkins, who is on the PUP list, and offensive lineman Thayer Mumford, undisclosed, were the only players not practicing on Wednesday. So I actually had a different article, which I don't know what I did with, man. I'm not sure. Oh, I know where it is. It was actually a tweet, man. Let me pull that up because it's relevant. Let me see. Apparently, I don't have that. Where is it? There we go. Found it. Found it. All right. So this is Vincent Bosnior, right? And it said One more on, well, let's start at the bottom, right? Because that's the way that the tweets came in. It says observations from Raiders camp. First 11 on 11 period featured a bunch of three linebacker sets with Roberts, White, and Pratt. First team offense. 11 personnel was consistently um, Thornton, Tucker, Myers at wide receiver. And then, let me see. Roberts with White next to him. Pratt was typically at the edge of the line of scrimmage, upright. All right, cool. So Roberts was playing middle linebacker with White next to him, and Pratt was typically on the edge, line of scrimmage. And then there at the top, it says one more. In second 11-11 period, um, it was Besh, Myers, Thornton when Raiders' first team offense was in 11 personnel. So, is Jack Besh and Trey Tucker look to be kind of the swapping back and forth on who's going to be with first team, right? And I love that Dante Thornton Jr. and Jacoby Myers were in both of the first team offense. And I'm super excited about that, you guys. I'm super excited about that because, I mean, Dante Thornton Jr., he is so fast, he is so tall, and I've been hearing nothing but good things and good things and good things. I got to give a shout out to one of the moderators. What's up, 93 Navman in the building? Salute, man. Good to see you. Oh, we got Q over here on TikTok. What's up, man? Salute to you. Good to see you. Win City Raider with the follow. Salute. Glad you made it. Uh, Willie says preseason game between Seahawks and Raiders about to be wild. I'm really looking forward to what that's going to look like. It's like, it's preseason, right? But it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Ernest, what's good, man? Haven't seen you in a minute. My take on QB room: Smith, and then mellowed in as wide receiver plus QB, but not drafted as a QB. Ritter out, Bradley out, AOC will be out soon because Touchdown Tommy is our third string QB. So actually, Cam Miller right now is our third string QB. Oh, you're talking about Cam Miller being the second and then Touchdown Tommy being the third. I could see a world where that could exist. But right now, AOC is so cheap, and he's proven that he can go out there as a backup and win some games. I think that holding on to Aiden O'Connell, and we're hearing some good things this offseason on Aiden O'Connell too. The staff really likes him a lot, but we're going to see how this kind of works out. Okay, so I'm on point with that. Okay, because I wasn't so sure, but yeah. And then we also have Jacoby Myers, so we are not at a shortage for quarterbacks. And I didn't really take that into account when I did my 53-man roster projection, that we could actually hold on to another position because of the fact that we have two other guys who could go in as a third string quarterback. That is a good point. I like that. Eduardo Vigil with the 10-7 strong. I originally said 9-8, right? And as time moves forward, I keep getting more and more to a spot where I feel like we can win more than 9 games. Shout out to you guys for tapping that heart, man, for real. We got over 1,000 likes over here on TikTok. I appreciate it. And over here on YouTube, if you have not yet, please hit that like, please hit that sub. We just hit 1,000 subs on YouTube. I'm very happy about that. It's been a long time coming. If you have not checked out this option yet, there is an option to become a channel member. No obligations, but definitely appreciate it. It helps me keep this page open. I appreciate that very much. So Quench says, how bad is the O-line going to be? Prepare me for the season. So actually our O-line is not going to be bad. I'm not a lot of people talk trash about our O-line and overall ratings not rated very, very good, right? And a big part of that was Andre James. Andre James is the biggest liability of a center that we've had in a long time. The dude was just constantly getting beat. And so when your center's getting beat, then your guards are having to pick up the slack for him. And that really just makes everybody play a whole lot worse. DJ Glaze was a rookie right tackle who actually played really good for being a rookie and getting thrown in there. And so he's definitely going to play a lot better this year. I believe he's going to have the full off season. He's going to be able to, he has some more experience and definitely developing in the right direction, right? And then Colton Miller, he started off the season very slow. He didn't really have an off season. He was coming back from a shoulder surgery, and he played awful in those first 6 games. But then after those first 6 games, he actually played pretty amazing, right? So you put Jackson Powers Johnson in at center where he should have been all along, and all of a sudden everybody around him is going to play a lot better. And I don't know, they're talking about maybe Dylan Parham moving to left guard and then Alex Kappa being right guard, which he was like the worst guard in the NFL last year, but he was also on the Bengals, right? And that was an awful offensive line. So he played pretty good when he was with the Bucks. But Jordan Meredith really had a pretty amazing year last year. He really, really did. And so I would actually like to see us give Jordan Meredith a shot. But what it comes down to is who's going to earn the spot, right? And that's why it's like it's always about compete. Pete Carroll is really putting the emphasis on compete, 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 because if we have competition at every single position, then let the best man win. There's too often, and we have some positions, right, where we already have the guy that's a shoe in. Geno Smith, he's going to be the starter, right? I don't think that there's a world where he gets beat in camp and then all of a sudden, we're starting with Cam Miller or Aiden O'Connell, right? It's going to be Geno Smith, and that's just what it is. Ernest is saying Geno gets us 5-5 before injury. Then Cam comes in and takes us to 8-5. Geno gets healthy. Do we keep Cam in or go back to Geno? It's a Brady dilemma in Pete. So there is some reports that, or rumors rather, that Cam Miller was a Tom Brady pick and that he really likes him. However, I don't think Cam Miller plays a single snap at quarterback unless we lose Geno Smith and Aiden O'Connell, and it's just an all-out shit show. I really think that the only way that he's going to play is if that happens. Now, in that kind of scenario, we paid Geno Smith starter money, and I believe that he's going to be our primary starter for at least the first year. I actually don't think that we have too much to worry about unless he gets injured, because honestly, I think that we're going to win some games, man. Geno Smith was a really good running back in Ashton Jeanty, and then Raheem Mostert, we can't overlook him. And then the offensive line is way, way better in Vegas than it was in Seattle. And so you give him a better offensive line. You give him Ashton Jeanty, you give him Brock Bowers, which in the presser Geno Smith was talking about, like he feels bad, when he can't just throw Brock Bowers the ball every time, right? Because Brock Bowers is just that good. I think overall the offense that Geno Smith is going to get to play with, not just player-wise, but also Chip Kelly's scheme, I really have a feeling that we're in for something special. It's definitely going to be a lot more entertaining than it was last year. Last dispensation with the share. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hershey Gutierrez of the Raiders. What's good? What's good? Let me see. Henry Florida smashing them hearts. Thank you. Thank you. Brad, thank you for sharing the live. I appreciate that. Ricky Ticky. What? No. I don't even know what you're talking about over there. Geno equals placeholder for Sam Levitt. So the thing is that I don't think that we're going to be looking at drafting a quarterback for at least 2 years, right? And the thing with that is that Geno Smith has a lot of miles left on him. He's the way his contract looks, the way that really he has the ability to throw the football. He's going to be our guy for a couple years. I don't anticipating us being in a spot where we can draft a quarterback really high. He could shock me and just come out and just bomb. and then we're like in week 4 talking about who we're going to draft, you know. But I really, really doubt that. Ernest, you've always thrown in scenarios when you jump in the chat, man. You know, and I appreciate that. And I like to like, I don't want people to just like be like, hey, yeah, we agree with you, because that's boring, right? I like when people say, hey, well, look at it this way, or hey, have you checked out this person, or Crest with the likes, thank you, man, I appreciate it. So, um, that stuff, it always gets my mind turning, because for me, like, my opinion can change when I receive new information, right? And so I could be off on a tangent, and then somebody presents me with information that just totally makes everything that I was going towards completely false, right? Or not so inviting anymore. And then I'm like, well, shit, man, maybe I do need to look at it this way, and I start going in the new direction, because I mean that's how we learn, that's how we grow, right? Raider Ryan in the building, one of the moderators. What's good, man? Good to see you. Good to see you, bro. Yeah, man. It's you know, now that we actually are in training camp, we we got some stuff moving. Um, I don't know, man. I've been in this weird spot for like probably the last month or two, where I'm like not really so sure that like my confidence in the Raiders is realistic, right? Or is it real? Because last year I said we were going to go 10-7, and that was far from the truth. They had us projected to win 5 games, and I remember going on live saying there's no way that we only win 5 games. They're ridiculous. They're right. We didn't win 5 games. Or I was right. We didn't win 5 games. We only won 4, right? And so that was horrible. Quench, do you like the Christian Wilkins move? I've seen defensive linemen get paid then fall off. It feels like an overpay because he's been out with injury, right? But let's say Christian Wilkins doesn't get hurt. Um, Max Crosby had 5 sacks in 4 games playing alongside Christian Wilkins. He definitely made our defensive line better. He made Max Crosby better. And he is absolutely an all out asset. Now, going into an injury, it sucks, right? It sucks. We only got to have him for 5 weeks, and then he went out injured. And then now he's on the pup list, which the way that it's structured right now, basically, if he's not off the pup list before, um, I want to say before actual preseason games start, then he has to sit out for 4 weeks. But if he gets off the pup list before then he can play week 1, which I kind of doubt. There was a video that people got all hyped about, like, oh, Christian Wilkins was dancing and I think he was singing Backstreet Boys or something, right? And he was in Crocs, but he wasn't really moving around all that much. And he knelt down and stuff, but I believe he knelt down on the opposite foot that was injured. Because when he was wearing a boot, it was on his left foot, right? And so he knelt down on his right leg. And, I'm not like overly hyped, like, oh, Christian Wilkins is going to be good to go. But he wasn't wearing a boot in the video. And, Hondo Carpenter put out this thing where it was like, there was a little bit of speculation on, because there was a discussion that he might need a second surgery, and that he was saying that he wanted to just play through the pain. And there was that whole debate, right? But we don't really know when that conversation took place, because that conversation could have taken place a couple of weeks ago, and it could have taken place a couple of months ago, right? So for all we know, and what I would think is that since he went down with an injury in October, right, that's when he got the first surgery. If it wasn't doing well, that they wouldn't wait all this long to be like, you know what, I think that we actually need to do a second surgery. I think that they would have known within a couple months, and they would have done another surgery, right? So I don't know, man. I honestly have a feeling that whatever setback or whatever happened, that he already had the surgery, and that we're just moving forward, and that we're having an expectation that he's going to be playing with the Raiders at the latest at week 5. That's my prediction. I'm sticking to it. So, Ernest, what's good, man? I'm getting better from a mini stroke. That's where I've been, feeling better, man. I'm glad that you're feeling better, man. That strokes are no joke, man. They are no joke. Um, yeah, I actually had a stroke when I was like 20, and my wrist stayed stuck bent for I think it was like 6 weeks, man. It still hurts sometimes, honestly. But yeah, there's been some things that never just kind of seemed quite the same after that, especially my memory. Um, so I wish you the best in healing, man. Really do, man. Salute to you. Let's see, JV, which Chip Kelly do you expect this year? The Ducks, Eagles, 49ers, or Bruins? Chip Kelly. So really, Chip Kelly has grown and he has changed. And there was a whole lot of speculation that Chip Kelly's like going to be kind of getting in position to end up being the guy that takes over for Pete Carroll, because Pete Carroll, we're only going to have him for 3 or 4 years, right? And I don't think that that's the case. He's been through a whole lot and he learned a whole lot. And, I think it was his introductory presser where he was talking about how he loves being an offensive coordinator and that he's found that that's where he wants to be, right? Like he said it very, very clearly. He wants to be an offensive coordinator. That's where he thrives. That's where he feels comfortable. That's where he's happy. And people think, oh, well, just because he can be a head coach and make more money, he'll want to do that. Money's not everything, man, especially when you're up there in the millions, man. It's like whatever. I recently took a huge pay cut to go and be a job that I'm happier at, right? Because I was so miserable. Even though I was making more money, it didn't really matter. I was miserable. So to be in a spot where he's comfortable, he thrives, and he's happy means more than anything. So really, we're gonna get. I think that we're gonna get a whole different Chip Kelly than we've seen on all of those. He's got different players. He can't just go straight from what he was doing in college last year into the NFL, but he's going to be pulling a lot of that kind of stuff into the NFL along with his NFL experience. And I do think that we're going to see a really, really good Chip Kelly. I'm actually really, really excited. Luke Getsy was like the worst hire I that I could have thought of last. Like when we were looking for an offensive coordinator, and things were kind of falling apart, I knew that Luke Getsy was available, and it was like, please don't let it be him. Please don't let it be him. And then, boom, Raiders hire Luke Getsy. And man, I was trying to be optimistic about it. I was like, well, maybe it was Justin Fields, and we'll see. And there's videos on that's where I started the channel, was talking about Luke Getsy, right? It's like, well, maybe it was Justin Fields, and it'll prove itself. And then Justin Fields went out there and played really good for the Steelers, and Luke Getsy called a horrible offense for the Raiders, right? So, I mean, it just kind of sorted itself out to where it was Luke Getsy for sure. Collins with the follow. Salute, man. So for those of you who are new here, I do TikTok on my phone. I do YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch on my computer. So if you're getting kind of confused about what's happening with the chat and stuff, that's where it's happening, is I'm kind of going back and forth. JV with the follow. Salute. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. So really, you guys, man, right now I talked about everything I had prepared for the day. Um, I wasn't actually gonna get on to do a live today, but there was just so much news getting talked about that it was like, all right, man, I gotta jump on, And so you guys have been great today, man. I'm gonna go play with my kid because that's what life's just all about. I gotta go spend time with my kid. So I love you, Nation, man. You're going to be seeing a whole lot more lives and videos out of me. And so I'm getting excited for the season. We are just weeks away from the preseason, man. I'm getting excited. Like always, I love you, Nation. I'll see you on the next one.